Primary season is almost over, and that means we are about 13+ weeks away from the time when you vote on which political party controls the power on Capitol Hill. And as we do it here on the Faulkner Focus, voters' voices matter most. Historically, the party which holds the presidency loses ground. That's seats in the House and Senate. And a recent Fox poll on the generic ballot shows Democrats hold a slight edge, 1 point outside the margin of error. And when it comes to those highly motivated in the midterm elections to vote, it's a virtual tie between Republicans and Democrats. Now, look at that. That is remarkable. Way above 80% for both. People are ready to vote. A separate national poll shows the economy as the top issue on voters' minds as November fast approaches. The economy by a wide margin, in fact. And something causing a huge rift in the Democrat Party, particularly the rise of socialism and radical left candidates running and winning in primaries all across the country. A new poll shows a majority of Democrats say they see socialism favorably, as well as the major organization backing socialist candidates, the DSA. Republicans very much have the opposite opinion. And earlier this morning, 8 people spanning the political spectrum say it's time now to hear them talk. So here are the voters' voices. In the front row, from left to right, we have Kieran, a Republican, Naomi, a Democrat, Ruben, Republican, Mary Josephine, an independent. And in the back row, again, left to right, Jay, a Democrat, Dominic, independent, Corey, Democrat, Robin, Republican. Welcome all in right now. I want to jump right in with something that kind of surprised me. You guys all talked with my team. You kind of set up where you are going into the midterm elections. And Naomi, you're new to Voters' Voices. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
You said that you are now kind of a centrist Democrat.
Yes.
But I notice that you are all over the place politically and that there are some problems in the Democrat Party for you.
Yes.
Talk to us.
Yes, since I'm a centrist, I don't like anything on the extremes on either side. So I'm pretty unhappy with things going farther to the left in the Democratic Party. And I think when it comes to governing people, I don't see a lot happening when people are far on the left and far on the right. I think people need to be closer to the center to be able to work across parties and actually get something done.
All right, you and Corey actually have, and Corey, you guys can kind of talk to each other if you want to jump in here, but I specifically have this question. You both listed anti-Semitism as your -- 1 concern this voter cycle.
Yeah.
Real quickly, Corey, your thoughts.
I think that anti-Semitism has become extremely normalized. When the mayor of New York is addressing a country in the Middle East that's the only Jewish state in the world, I think it's just he's trying to promote his own agenda, and it's fanning the flames of the divisiveness that's going on. And I have personally experienced a horrid normalization of anti-Semitism and just how wide it's become and accepted.
I'm sorry to hear that it has been that personal experience for you.
Thank you.
Real quickly, you told my team you're a homeless Democrat. What does that mean politically?
I feel that I don't have a place in really either party. I'm also somewhat of a centrist as well. I've always had progressive beliefs. I support a lot of progressive ideas. However, I'm not happy with the way that either party is going. I think they're both becoming extremely extreme. And, it's that horseshoe method where now they're meeting here and nothing is getting done here in the center where we really need this country to move forward.
Interesting. All right. I see that you may be voting for a Republican for New York governor, Bruce Blakeman. He's picking up in the polls. They're only a couple of points apart, he and Kathy Hochul. So that's interesting, too. All right. So I started off with 2 Democrats. Ruben, I want you to weigh in here, based on what you've just heard, but also what's important this midterm cycle.
Well, it's the most significant midterm that this country's going to have. You have a cancer brewing here, and it's building up very fast. People looking at these small towns and villages and the mayor's offices, but I think it's going to go even further if we don't nip it in the butt. Right now, the socialists, and I don't call them socialists, they're actually communists. This is something that's going real fast, And if we don't get control of it, somehow it's going to absorb us. And I say get control, not negative, but we really got to get the message out. As a Republican, conservative Republican, we really got to get our message out there and make it stronger so that people, especially those who are in the middle, you got the independent voters you got to keep an eye on. They will go with us this time around, I hope, if these guys continue doing what they're doing.
Well, one thing we do here on Voters' Voices and the Faulkner Focus is we want to talk with real people. And we find that here in New York City, a lot of times, especially during summer, you've got people coming from all over the country. So we sent out our crew to talk about this topic of Democrat socialism. Let's watch.
Countries and leaders that have embraced socialism has had such a tragic end to it, and the people are the ones that end up suffering the most.
Social Security is a socialist program. Medicare is a socialist program. SNAP benefits. So it really depends on how you define socialism. I think people try to exploit it as to what it's being described as today.
I don't know. Desperation, lack of knowledge. I don't think they know the impact it could have. I don't know, ignorance.
Anything goes as long as it's not a Republican, is the way people feel, I think. How are they going to do all the stuff that was promised for you people when they voted for him? How is he going to do all that?
Isn't that what we fought in Vietnam? Communism, which is kind of like the brother of the cousin or other of communism and socialism.
All right, I want to take quickly a look at this poll. The popularity of Democrat socialists and socialism as a whole, as Ruben said, moving across the country. Let's take a look at that. And while we're looking at the screen, Dom, I come to you for your thoughts. You are an independent. You're somewhere in the middle sometimes. How do you see the rise of socialism?
Yeah, listen, this is a shocking statistic. I think that America is in real trouble if this is the trend that's going to continue in the future. We need to come back to more traditional values and, like Corey said, you know, both sides are just becoming more and more extreme, and we need to become more centered. The last time we did this segment, you know, it was nice to see that the panel was aligned that we need to become more centered, and hopefully that trend starts soon. So
that's so interesting, because you knew we do this, you know, on election night, general election night. We kind of do it every few months. It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. Right.
And so what is happening right now? We're getting closer to election. I get that, but what do you think is happening?
I think that just, well, in New York City specifically, you know, the Democrats are just swinging far too left, and people are getting on board with this mayor and this socialist mentality, and they're seeing, you know, he won, and other people want to get in the bandwagon and go with this.
You're talking about New York's Mayor Zohran Mamdani, but we've got, you know, we have these people all over the country. You've got El Sayed up in Michigan. You've got, you know, you've got leftover. You've got Chicago. Everybody's getting in. I want to take a look now at the top issues that people say that they will be looking at. And of course, we hit the streets. So let's hear from voters who are on the streets first, and then we'll come back to our voters' voices. Watch this.
That we keep the House and the Senate is the most important thing to me, because I feel that our country is going to go downhill if Trump doesn't continue to be able to go forward with his policies. I know he's not perfect, but I think he's doing a lot of good.
Voter ID is just number one for me. You know, keeping our elections fair, free. Everyone who should be able to vote is allowed to vote, and if you're not, then you shouldn't. That's as simple as, you know, I can make that.
Not that there's a big difference between the Democratic and the Republican Party, but I'd love the pendulum to swing the other way to see what the Democrats can do with control of the House and the Senate.
If the Dems take over in November, it's going to be 2 years of impeachment and all the other nonsense, and nothing's going to happen.
International relations, I wish we could establish better relationships across the world, because we need to be the models of peace. The U.S. can be and has been the model of peace and can be again.
I'm all for legal immigration. I'm all for helping people. You know, I love that. But when you come here illegally and work around our laws to benefit yourself at the expense of American citizens, I just have a real problem with that.
Robin, I see you nodding a lot.
A lot.
Why?
I just agree with a lot of what they're saying. You know, my top issue is anti-Semitism. I actually just left New York City and moved to New Jersey because I did not feel comfortable raising my Jewish son in New York City with the current mayor. But immigration is another one that's very important to me. I believe in, tightening the borders. And just making sure that the people that are voting legally and, fair elections. Isn't that what a democracy is? And I think we've really gone sort of off the rails in a lot of this.
A lot of people talking economy, and one of the reasons why, Karen, and you are young, you're about to hit your senior year in college, is affordability. Talk to me about that.
100%. I mean, economic issues, especially someone young coming out of college, starting jobs, starting my life. I mean, it's a huge issue. However, I do think this midterm is quite unique because truly it's not left versus right. In my eyes, this is radicalism against common sense. And if you ask that question of common sense and which party has more of it, I don't even think it's a question. Border security, voter ID, cutting taxes, having people keep their money. I think that's an important policy that I appreciate. So I think if common sense is the voters' North Stars, I think the Republicans are going to do quite well in November.
Jay, your top issues.
My top issues have to do with the economy, which has not seen any improvement under the current administration. We have seen a president who does not seem to be worried about the median average American. And that's been shown in many different ways, from his tariff agenda to his choosing to pick a war with Iran. These things harm the average American person. The fact that healthcare is up, the fact that gas is up, the fact that costs of housing is up.
Healthcare has been expensive for a long time, and the former President Obama policies didn't help that. And I hear what you're saying. I do wonder where you get the engagement that things are not, at least in some areas, notwithstanding gasoline, we are at war in the Middle East, and that has ticked up and ticked down. But when it comes to certain items, things are better. No tax on tips. You have a tremendous amount of people who work in the service industry in this country. And so that has made a big difference. What's your thought, Mary Josephine?
I mean, the no tax on tips, of course it helps. But I think one of the reasons why we are seeing so many move, to a more radical policy, especially on the left, is because they're dismayed. Affordability in New York City, if you're from New York City, even honestly across the country right now, it's difficult. Housing is up. Interest rates, if you're trying to buy a home, is up. Housing in general is up, so it's hard if you're just starting out. Yes, prices have come down in the grocery store. Yes, they have, but it's still relatively high compared to 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, we know that COVID, kind of initiated that high inflation because of what happened during that time, but we still.
Well, Biden's policies didn't help.
No,
at some point, we were leading other countries with 9-point-something% in inflation. Real quickly, show of hands. No. I said in some places you were leading other countries.
Many countries were in the 20+%.
I didn't say every country. I said some.
I understand that, but there was a hard decision that needed to be made.
And I even gave the number exactly of what we had. So real quickly, because I want to do a quick show of hands here. How many of you are voting per the party that you normally do? So if you're Democrat, Republican, how you normally vote? Show of hands. How many are going with it? How many of you are considering a shift? Interesting. The first two Democrats I started with. And that was hinged on anti-Semitism, which for at least 3 of you is your #1 issue. The economy, also very important for everybody. Great to have you all on Voters' Voices. I wish we had more time. I always do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.